As an elder ate, yun nga, we need to emphasize and to remind everyone what does it mean to build genuine relationship. And in building genuine relationship, kaya inalter ko yung REL sa relationship, ginawa kong REAL, because relationships doesn't have to be relationship period. It must be genuine and authentic. Kaya ayun nga, two points to remember is number one, connection, and number two is conversation. So why is it hard to connect? So if mapapansin nyo, di ba, I want you guys to remind about connection and conversation. Connection is something that is hard for us to do as a person. Parang it's part of our human nature that we tend to be shy or too afraid to connect. So hindi lang guys to yung ano natin na internet connection yung mahirap, pati human connection. And not knowing that the only solution about connection or connecting is having deeper or genuine conversation. So let's just try to solve that in that way. And if you will see in your screen, there are two pictures, one in the what do you call this, social media environment, and one is physical. So why is it hard to connect? Realistically, ito pa lang yung mga super minor avenue na pwede tayong makipag-connect. Number one is Zoom, pero ang pinaka-specified pa dyan is breakout rooms. So I commonly experience this na kapag merong Zoom activity, tapos may breakout rooms, kakabahan ka na. And then, when you're inside that breakout room, may moment of silence, like siguro mga 5 minutes or minsan nga matatapos na yung breakout session, walang nagsalita at all or totally silent. I know some of you experienced that too. If you experienced that, type 1 na lang in the chat box. Kasi ako, I experienced it a lot of times. Not that I'm not also trying to start the conversation, pero minsan I also observe kung sino among us on that breakout room yung magsa-start ng conversation. So that's one of the example of why is it hard to connect. There's no one starting the conversation, right? And then the other one, ito naman, it's a totally different situation, but this almost the same output during first day of classes. Ayan. Di ba? Parang ang hirap-hirap magkaroon ng introductory paulit-ulit, pero kahit paulit-ulit mo siyang ginagawa, it's one of the hardest thing kasi ang pinaka-goal natin lagi dyan, aminin man natin, it's to introduce ourselves in the shortest possible way. So, guys, if you will notice dito sa ating two pictures, may commonality or may similarity dyan. And it's just a 4-letter word. Ayan. So, I just want it to be proactive lang throughout. So, can you guess, guys, kung ano yung similarity nung two scenarios in the picture? And it's only a 4-letter word. Ayan. Sige, kapag kung sinong makahula niyan, may pa-Jollibee. Kaya na yan, since marami sa inyo mahilig sa Jollibee. Tingnan nga natin, wait. My screen. Call? What do you mean call? Call yung 4-letter word or call na game? Sige, wala nyo lang, guys. Talk, other pa. Sige, clue. It's an emotion, it's a feeling. Yun, okay, Kyle. You got it. Yan. It's fear. Yan. So, meron kang one piece chicken. Kaso, Kyle, ikaw yung sumagot ng KFC, ikaw pa yung nanalo. Anyway, sige. Yan. So, ang commonality nila dito is the fear. We tend to be afraid to speak out first or to build connection and conversation because we fear neglection or fear of being judged. Diba? So, sobrang common yan sa lahat ng magiging conversation natin or kahit na gustong-gusto natin makipag-connect. Pero if fear gets into the picture, wala na. It's game over already. So, that's the first thing that I think every one of us needs to overcome. Because then again, people always miss the opportunity to connect because of fear to commit mistakes and fear of rejection. Not realizing that every one of us feels that not every one of us feels that. but only a few mastered overcoming it. Again, I'll read it again. People always miss the opportunity to connect because of fear to commit mistakes and fear of rejection, not realizing that every one of us feels that, but only a few mastered overcoming it. So ako, ikaw ngayon na nandyan, might have fears before this Zoom started or after this Zoom started or in whatever situation you might be. We always have that fear of rejection or making mistakes. But the thing is, are you one of those few people who mastered overcoming it? And we know in our community, it's all about overcoming. Overcoming in a sense that we need to reach something higher, something bigger than ourselves, right? So if something fears us and we want to go in that position higher than ourselves, then we must master the art of overcoming it. So that's the first point, first lesson that I want to convey to you guys. And next one, wala nang pag-game to. So the second thing, why is it hard to connect is through personality. So actually 2 points lang because I've given a limited time to explain, but these are the two things that or reasons why is it hard to connect. Una, again, is fear, and next is personality. So what if Ate Mel, ano ako, in nature, extrovert or introvert or ambivert, if they call it. So just a thought, parang do I need to wait an extrovert to approach an introvert and vice versa? So kailangan ba laging ganon? So I guess we just need to consider these things because at the end of the day, if our main goal is to connect, we must always consider to converse or to make meaningful conversation. And in order for us to know a person deeper, it's okay to begin with these two questions or to consider these two questions. Number one is, do we have something in common? Or number two, do our values are somehow the same? Kasi if ang end goal natin, guys, is we want to build a genuine relationship with another person and na-overcome na natin yung fear, na makipag-conversation or to talk with that person, then what next? So the next step is to consider knowing deeply that person. Hindi yung ito example. This is the common, I'm not saying it's a mistake, but it's a common downfall na ang ending is end of conversation na. Ito nasa first part. Yung mga musta tayo, tapos ang sabihin is, okay lang, ikaw. Okay naman, ikaw. Totoo to, di ba? Totoo itong nangyayari sa real life conversation sa chat. Tapos yun, ayos lang. Tapos syempre, dead end. Ayun na yung ayos lang. Dead end. Heart na lang. Or yung iba pa, considerate, they will heart react. Yung iba naman, sinzo na lang. And then that's it. And what I meant by consider asking this question is to always consider knowing deeply that person to the point that you will know something from them that will make you connect to them, like something in common and somehow the same. Kasi there are a lot of differences with each other because we are made unique, diba, as an individual. Pero if we will dig deeper, meron pala kayong commonality. Meron naman palang point na pwede kayong mag-connect. And that's what we want to know at the start pa lang ng building relationship. Hindi yung at the end, dun pa lang natin malalaman because it's hard to maintain relationship kung walang connection. Kung hindi nyo alam kung saang part ng life niya kayo makikipag-connect. So, like this, if for example, same start, kamusta? Hi, kamusta? Tapos, okay lang, ikaw. The reply is doing great. Thank you for asking too. And then this one will make you connect deeply. What keeps you busy lately? Kasi hindi naman pwedeng okay lang ulit yung sagot niya dito sa what keeps you busy lately, right? So ito yung pwede niyang mga sagot or other things. Pero ito yung naging sagot ng kakonvo ko. Wala naman, I'm just watching business proposal. And if you are a person who also loves K-drama, laging nag-Netflix, ganyan, at nanonood din ng business proposal, voila, ayan, meron na kayong connection, meron na kayong point of conversation. Ayan, so, oh nice, I see that the trends on Netflix, how was it? And you can see that person typing na. Unlike dito, na na-heart react na tayo or na-scene zone. So guys, just to remind, that's the power of connection and conversation. Kasi we can't just stop connecting with people we need to maintain and sustain it in order to build lasting relationship. So malapit na to sa end. I'll just share a short story about a young girl. I think she's about 12 to 13 years old. And itong girl na to, her family usually goes to a community every Sunday. So sabihin na natin it's a church community. And then there are other people then in that community at her age. So marami ding 12 to 13 years old doon sa community na yon. Pero she somehow feels left out or alone. Hindi niya din alam kung bakit. Pero I think what's the history of this person is that siya yung pinakabago dun sa group na yon. Like matagal na magkakasama yung other youth or the person at her age dun sa community na yon. And of course, it's natural, she will feel alone, lonely, until such time na dumating yung point na she stops going with her family anymore in that community. Because she felt that way na being left out, being alone, and that. And when someone stops going or when someone stops showing up, just the thought of stops showing up, it means she is starting or he is starting to build a wall na. Kasi if someone is showing up, it means like she's just trying to observe, see things, how he or she can interact. But if he or she stops showing up, nakakapag-build na yan internally. Kahit hindi niya sabihin, hindi niya ipakita, there's a wall already. Because of fear, yan, personality, status, or availability, not available, something like that. Or no avenue to express himself or herself. And going back to the story, since that girl feels like she's being left out alone or not, ayan nga, nagsastart na siyang mag-build ng wall. And then one day, someone approached her and asked her to join an activity every Saturday. And of course, dahil 12 to 13 pa lang, andun pa yung approval nila ng parents niya, I think. So, sumama siya. And from then on, I think, and I can testify that she became active in that community. So, since this is a National Siblings Day, happy National Siblings Day, everyone. I'd like to remind that what this person, itong naka-black, did to this young girl is showing siblings love. And how to practice siblings love in our community. And I already jumped into these steps because as for my experience, as for this little girl's experience, which is me when I was 12 to 13 years old, it is a person who reached out for me, who saved my activeness in our community. And I would always thank this person. Ayoko siyang pangalanan, pero yun, I know every one of you knows her already. And if you would be that person to someone's life in our community and show that siblings love, not by blood, but because we are anchored to heavenly parents and true parents, I think that would be one of the greatest siblings love that heavenly parents and true parents would be proud of. So ayan, going back to this slide, how to practice siblings love in our community. Number 1 is reach out. Just like what I've said earlier, alisin muna natin lahat ng fear, ganyan, fear of judgment, fear na baka ma-reject and all, but just reach out. And after you reach out, look for ways to have better conversation and not just yun nga, not just ending in kamusta and ayos lang. Because once you've built a good conversation, you'd be able to identify a common goal with that person and know each other better. And of course, after you identify a common goal, after you know that person better, syempre, andun yung mga differences. But the thing that we need to overcome in this part or in this stage is to appreciate it. Appreciate our differences and make sure that we identify ourselves as unique individual and we know that that person that we are talking to is also unique. Kaya iba-iba tayo. And lastly, always team up. And what I meant by team up, be active after you reach out and identify since meron ng common goal. Alam nyo na kung ano yung mga activities or projects na pwede nyo siyang makasama. Because without sustainability, without maintaining that conversation, hindi tayo makakabuild ng lasting relationship with that person. And this step somehow is the base ground in building or in establishing siblings love in our community. So nearing the end, I'd just like to read True Father's speech from 1969. Ayan, etong first part na to guys, if you will notice while we're reading, I'll explain na lang din. Etong first part talks about reaching out, and then the second part, it talks about identifying a common goal, same as this common goal, and then the know each other better and appreciate each other's differences. Basta this speech of True Father is so amazing that it boils down to the steps on how to show siblings love in our community. So ayan, let's read na lang. I'll read it aloud and you can read it through your eyes. People cannot get away, cannot exist separate from connections. For people to be born, they must have root-like parents. One also has siblings through the parents, and siblings are like branches. The parents can gain either glory or misfortune through these siblings. Hence, one must understand that all beings come into existence through such root-like connections. One siblings are like branches stretching out from one trunk. Even among the branches, there are central branches and sub-branches. Being linked to an unbreakable connection, siblings must regard each other as precious. A sibling connection cannot be established through simply the two, but is a connection that is established through the parents. Hence, no one can do anything about this connection. It is not something one can control and link through such a connection. Siblings must therefore respect it. Thus, no matter how bad relationship between siblings may become, they cannot break away from this bond because they are all connected to one root. So basically, yung pinaka-excerpt from this speech from our True Father is, even though some of us are not related by blood, we are siblings anchored through heavenly parents and true parents. Even though we are totally different, and some might be good, some might be bad, that connection cannot be broken away from us or taken away from us. Yeah, they cannot break away from this bond because we are all connected through heavenly parents and true parents. And lastly, I am saying this because I have observed a tendency to neglect relationships among today. Limiting a relationship only to greetings in the morning is easy, but our relationships, even with our neighbors, must not be limited to just greetings, knowing each other's faces and knowing each other's fathers. When we look deeply from the standpoint of God's will, relationships hold great significance. Yet the reality is that we do not treat relationships with much importance. That is why I'm saying this. That is why people that have undergone spiritual training all advocate doing good deeds and donating to the poor. This is said because beneath the surface, such connections certainly bind all people, and because everything that has appeared in history is connected. The connections binding us are more precious and nobler than the standard by which we feel and criticize things. The kingdom of heaven is a place where people that love each towards siblings love. Ayan. And then again, all of this is anchored dun sa steps on how to practice it in our community. And with that, this is second to the last slide na. Kayo guys na nandito, I think around 16, 15 to 16, we can do better. We can do better than just being 16, 15 in a Zoom room. I can also testify for Cavite. We can also do better in terms of increasing the number of participants because this kind of activity is actually good. It's actually maintaining our relationship with each other, right? But if we will maintain this number, then there's something that we need to go beyond. And every one of us here can be that person that someone is waiting for in our community. So we all know some of the problems that our co-blessed children are undergoing at the moment. Some of them are not showing up already. Some of them are still showing up, but we don't know that behind that may mga problems din sila. And it is always good to start a better conversation with them through those steps, not just the simple kamusta. Kasi it's always easier to hide the okay lang in every kamusta. But ayun nga, maybe you are that person that someone is waiting for para maging active ulit sila or para maramdaman ulit nila yung siblings love that our heavenly parents and true parents are teaching to us. And lastly, when the intention is pure and right, genuine relationships arise. So that's all. Thank you so much again for inviting me. Hope you guys learned something, and happy National Siblings Day. Thank you.